Isn't it really funny how you're watching a guy talk about how he's thankful for life offline while you're online and while I'm playing a video game? This is a little bit different of a video than I usually do. I usually like to talk about technology and how I'm thankful for the various pieces of modern technology we have, and honestly, I think that's good and all, but I want to try something different just for today. Can't even tell what time it is. I'm in the back rooms of my own Minecraft world. I'm pretty far away from everything else, but I think this is a good opportunity to just kind of take a little chat about things as I make my way back home the long way, because I could take the Nether and it would be faster, but sometimes you just need that cinematic long walk to explain something, you know? But anyways, I'm thankful for having some time offline and away from screens. You know, I recognize that there's a lot of cool things you can learn online, and you know, the first the first video on my YouTube channel was talking about how I'm thankful for YouTube and just how many different things I've learned through it. And don't get me wrong, I am still thankful for YouTube. I mean, you're watching this on YouTube. But I also am thankful for the ability to take time away from it and to have things outside of the screens that are interesting to me and that I actually have the time and energy to do things outside of this. I know not everybody has that opportunity. I mean, there are people who live in major cities. They work, they get home, they're tired. It's not easy to get to nearby parks, or maybe you do want to go to a nearby park, but it's just constantly crowded and it's not really doesn't really bring you peace. I know that I'm in a very lucky situation where I'm able to go outside and actually enjoy things a little bit, both because of the time I have, but also just where I live. And I'm very, very glad as well that I have a vehicle that's reliable. Again, that's something that I know not everybody has, and that I can just go drive somewhere, and that there's an area outside of town that's nice to explore and is actually really interesting. Again, I know not everybody has that, and I'm grateful that I do, and I I have tried a couple of times to record this video, and honestly, something I kept running into was, man, you know, it's these screens, it's all this stuff, and I want to preface this by saying that there's a lot of people that will be like, "Oh, it's your smartphone. Oh, it's short form content. Oh, it's just, you know, watching stuff on a screen." Or, "Oh, it's video games. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that." And they think that that's the problem, and I'll be honest, I think that it can be an issue, but I think it's more I think it more has to do with having a life that is fulfilling in general is sort of the thing that people are trying to fix, and I very much include myself as prime suspect number one when I say this, that you spend a lot of time on the screens because you don't know what else to do. I've definitely been there more times than I care to admit, and some days I'm still in that mentality a little bit. And I go, man, I should be doing something else, but I don't know what else to do. And that's why I'm glad I have things other than just screen time to occupy my time. Again, I can go for walks, I can go for a drive, and it gives me a chance to mull things over that if I was just sitting on my computer all the time, I wouldn't really be able to do. And you know, there's been a couple of times in my there's been a couple of times in my life where I've gone without I've gone without my computer and I've got a really dumb phone for a period of time. There's two periods of time where I did that. They both were around 3 months. I guess I shouldn't say I didn't use my computer at all. I did a little bit, but it's a long story as to how it happened. But anyways, to get to the punch, I don't. I think it just called. I think it just pulled a Michael Scott. Whatever. Cut to the. I don't know. Cut to the chase. But someone can make fun of me in the comments for that. But my point is, when I didn't have the screen all the time, I actually had to think about a lot of things that I didn't think about previously. It made me realize, to a certain extent, there was stuff I didn't really want to face. And maybe in a certain way now I'm still kind of in that same boat because I've found myself using the screens more lately. Although some of that maybe really lately has just had to do with the fact that work is kicking my butt and it takes less energy to sit in front of my screen and veg out than it does to go out and do other things. So anyway, to circle back to a point I made earlier, there's YouTubers who will be like, "Oh, you know, don't do this, don't do that," relating to the screens. And what I find really ironic is that some of those YouTubers will then turn right around in the same video and be like, "This is sponsored by," and it's some online thing. Like, do you not see the irony in what you're doing? You're you're telling people, you know, don't spend time online, and then there you are posting a video about it. Or the worst sin in my opinion is that they have a sponsor that then keeps someone online more. I don't really think that makes a lot of sense. But again, I don't necessarily have too much of an issue with people posting things like, "Oh, you know, I got rid of my phone for a month," I think was a title that I saw once. And you know, there people are just sharing their journeys of what honestly happened. I think that, you know, posting it more like a piece of journalism is fine. But yeah, there is a point where people can be rather self-righteous about, oh, you know, I don't spend time on the computer and this, that, and the other. But then there they are posting about stuff all the time. It's like, well, really? And I've come to the conclusion that there's just kind of no escaping the screens. You can spend less time online. You can take long hiatuses, but ultimately you cannot actually get away from the screens. It's just not really possible. Again, you can spend less time. You can find things that are more fulfilling, and I think that's ultimately the cure to what a lot of these people are complaining about. Oh, you know, it really is the phone or whatever, is roughly another video title I've seen once. And the thing is, you're not gonna get away from how much we are stuck with the screens. There's a lot of services that you legitimately either can't do in person or it's very difficult to do in person, and that we use screens to sort of do that stuff now instead. You know, certain appointments, certain, you know, services that you book or use that are only online. When's if you if you're not in a major city, I want to challenge you. If you needed to get somewhere, when's the last time you called a taxi? No, no, no. You didn't call a taxi. You probably used Uber, which is online. It's mediated through the online sphere. There's no getting away from this. And I guess I realized a little bit to my dismay that there is no getting away from this stuff. And You know, that the best you can do is take some long breaks. I mean, if you're in America, which I am, I don't know, maybe some of you European viewers, congratulations um, for being a non-US viewer, viewing a guy talking about US problems. But anyways, I digress. Unless unless you basically become Amish or you, I don't know, maybe someone will start an actual movement that gains so much traction that there are people who don't live online and can practically make it work. But something a lot of people don't know about the Amish is that in order for them to sort of sell their, well, in order for them to sell their goods and sort of just deal with basic day-to-day things that the government requires them to do, even though they're not part of broader society, because they are ultimately still in the United States, there are people who are part of the Amish groups that basically coordinate stuff on the edges. You know, they still interact with the outside world somewhat so that the rest of the rest of their kind of, I guess, I don't, I'm looking for a word here, but the rest of their group basically can continue to live offline in peace. And it still takes someone reaching out to the outside world and doing things. Again, even the Amish can't escape being online to a certain extent. They might have someone else mediate it so that they don't have to deal with it as much personally, but again, someone has to deal with it. For better or worse, we have designed our society around this stuff, and there's just no way around it. There's literally no way around it. And so there's a few choices that you have. Again, the first is you can be like, "Oh, I'm gonna rebel," but like, okay, but you're gonna have to live a very different life. And I will say one thing that might be skewing my perception and a lot of other people's is that the people who live offline and aren't posting about it, you don't see it on the internet. So we don't know. Maybe there are more new Luddites, as the group has started being called, or it's a bunch of Gen Z people who are basically saying we want to use technology as little as possible. There might be more of them than we even know. But again, there's not really, for practical everyday sense, you're not going to escape using technology. And so you can either embrace it and learn how to use it in a healthy way, or you can kind of just cope and be like, ah, it's bad, but not be able to stop using it. And I've realized that the biggest issue is that we need meaning. We need something to orient our lives around so that when we're using technology, we can actually use it for a purpose and not just because we don't know what else to do. And I think that can go a long way in solving a lot of the issues we have. In fact, I think that would solve more than just the screen addiction. I think that would solve other pretty large societal problems if we figured out what the purpose of certain things was. And I know that's pretty existential, that's pretty philosophical, and if this video somehow gets enough traction, or enough people want to see something more like this, I may make videos on that at some point. But I'll be honest, just for now, as of July of 2026, I probably won't dabble in stuff like that very much. I don't necessarily think that I would add very much to the space that some people aren't already saying. I mean, there are people who are saying the same thing I am of, you know, there needs to be meaning and purpose behind what you're doing and not just, you know, going to a screen because, well, you don't know what else to do. I know. It's a lot to take in, but it is true. And I guess to sort of continue on this vein, having offline life helps balance me a little more. And I have noticed that one of the better things I do if I do wind up scrolling a lot of short form content is I'll share memes with my friends because things are funnier to laugh at with friends. They just are. You know, I'm not saying that if you scroll for 2 hours through a bunch of memes and laugh alone that like you're a terrible person, but like I don't know. At least for me, it's more enjoyable to share that stuff with friends. So I do when I can, and it's pretty nice. It works out pretty well. Probably one thing that really helps ground me in offline life that I haven't been able to do a lot of lately just because my work schedule has been really crazy is running. You know, call me a psycho, but when I run outside, I don't run with music. I just take in the sights, the sounds, and the smells as they are. And I think it helps remind me that, you know, I'm in my own body. I live in the real world. You know, whatever things I might see online about how this or that is going crazy, I can live in the real world and go, you know what? Maybe some things are a little crazy now and then, but it's not as bad as it's been made out to be. I'm not saying there aren't problems. There are definitely problems, but I think they've been overblown a little, and spending just a little bit of time offline now and then can help put things into perspective. Now, one thing that I do want to sort of wrap up with as I get really close to my Minecraft home again is if you can if you can find a way, and again, I don't necessarily think I'm the one to give advice. I'm just some guy on the internet who talks into a microphone because I can. So I might leave this to some other people who know more than I do. Although, if the demand exists and you want to hear some random guy on the internet talk about finding meaning, I guess I might be able to put something together sometime, but it would probably take a while. But finding meaning and finding a reason that you want to do things online or offline would probably help because if you orient your life around something specific, and there was a period of time not too long ago when I was pretty focused on my running. It was also coincidentally a time when I didn't really use my screens very much, if hardly at all. And I think that helped because it gave me something else to focus on. Again, some people are like, ah, I'm just on the screen at the end of a long day because I don't really know what else to do. And some people kind of turn it into like this, oh, you gotta like hustle and do this and grow your business on the side. Stop watching all the short form content. And like, look, if you want to make your own business, that's cool, but like, it's okay to have hobbies without monetizing them. Like, I know, everyone online is like, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Look, I'm not here to grift you, okay? If you want to do something because you want to and it doesn't involve a screen, do it. You don't need to turn it into this crazy business project. I know the economy is weird right now, and maybe you could make more money off it, but it, it's okay to do things just for the love of the game. you don't you don't have to turn it into, oh, I have to monetize it or this, that, or the other. I don't think that's really that good at the end of the day, and it's not really helpful in terms of bringing you peace. I finally returned home at the end of a long day, and, well, it's time for me to call it. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for watching. If you want to share some things you're thankful for about offline life and things you do when you're not on the screen so that those of us who are chronically online know what it's like to touch grass, then please drop a comment down below and drop a like if you like to listen to me yap for about 20 minutes. I do appreciate it. And, anyways, I hope you're doing well. Stay thankful.